Warning, incoming goblin. Warning, incoming game. You get it, it's a reboot reference.
This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. If you're looking for cards in the US, look no further as you can use the promo code MTGMudsta to get you 5% off anything on the site. Or if you're in Canada like me, you can use the same promo code at Multizone to get 10% off your orders of singles. If cards aren't what you're looking for, Original Magic Art has playmats, tokens, and sweet art that you can use that same promo code to help you get 5% off your order there. If you're looking to bling out your cards, using Alter Sleeves is a great way to do so, and you can click the affiliate link in my About section to help out the channel as you make an order. And if you just want to help out the channel, you can always consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month and join the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Just a bit of a content warning, if lands in front upset you, you're probably going to have a bad time with this game since 2 people are doing it. I am playing my Ramos Dragon Engine keeping a Crystal Shard, Cub Warden, Lumbering Falls, Souvenir Snatcher, Elusive Tormentor, and a Soul Ring. We've got 2 Shanes, with the first one playing Kyler Sigardian Emissary, keeping Cultivate, Skyshroud Claim, Talisman of Unity, Lifecrafter's Bestiary, Forest, Plains, and Command Tower. Ben is playing Xira Arien, keeping a Farseek, Soul Shatter, Taiga, Mountain, Colony Heart Expedition, Skyshroud Claim, and the Eldest Reborn. New Shane is playing Nekusar the Mindrazor, keeping Urza's Guilt, Psychosis Crawler, Underworld Dreams, Island, Swamp, Forced Fruition, and a Drowned Catacombs. I win the die roll and start us off. I play a tap Lumbering Falls and pass. Shane plays a Command Tower. Ben draws, plays a Taiga, and taps it for a Nile Spellbomb. New Shane plays a Swamp. I draw and play a Glacial Fortress, casting Soul Ring. Shane plays a Forest and casts Talisman of Unity. Ben draws and plays a Mountain, tapping out for a Farseek, and going to grab a Bayou before passing. New Shane plays a Frostboil Snarl, revealing an island, and with nothing else, passes. I play an Exotic Orchard and cast my own Farseek, going to grab a Blood Crypt. I then cast Crystal Shard and pass to Shane. Shane draws and floats some mana off the forest before bouncing it back to his hand with Selesnya Sanctuary. He then uses the mana and 2 more to cast a Cultivate, getting a Forest and a Plains, and putting 1 into play and 1 into hand. Ben draws and plays a Skyclave Relic. He uses the relic to crack the Spellbomb, and targets New Shane to not draw any ire, drawing a card as he does so. New Shane plays a Drowned Catacombs, and pays 2 for an Arcane Signet. My turn has me casting Animar Soul of Elements, and passing to Shane. Shane plays a Forest, and casts Lifecrafter's Bestiary. He follows up with a Hanwar Militia Captain, paying a green to draw a card, and passing. Ben plays a Colony Heart Expedition, and then drops an Herb for his turn, getting to put a counter onto it. He follows up with his commander, Xira Arien, and passes to New Shane. New Shane plays an island, and then pays 3 black for an Underworld Dreams. I draw and lose a life from the Underworld Dreams. I then play a Steam Vents, losing 2 to shock it in, and I mutate Illuna, Apex of Wishes, onto my Animar. Animar gets a counter from the creature being cast, and Illuna then triggers, revealing a Volcapete, which I put to hand. Moving to combat, I swing the Illuna Animar stack at Shane. He takes 7, and with nothing else, I pass. Shane draws and takes 1 from the Underworld Dreams. He then plays his commander, Kyler, and pays a green to draw. Moving to combat, he swings the Hanwar Militia Captain at me for 2, which I take, and he passes to Ben. Ben draws and takes a damage from the Underworld Dreams. He plays a Bloodstained Mire, and then a Skyshroud Claim, getting to find 2 forest cards. The expedition gets 2 more counters, and Ben passes. New Shane casts his commander Nekusar, and passes to me. I draw 2, and take a total of 4. I play a Temple of Silence and scry 1 and put it to the bottom. I then mutate a Souvenir Snatcher onto the Animar pile, which Ben responds to with a Soul Shatter. With that spell in the stack, I respond as well, using Crystal Shard to bounce my Animar pile back to my hand. Soul Shatter then resolves before the Snatcher enters, and with everyone else sacrificing a creature, I pass turn. Shane scries 1 to the bottom from the Lifecrafter's Bestiary trigger and draws a card, losing 1 from Underworld Dreams. He casts a Sereth the Viper's Fang and pays a green to draw a card, losing another 1. He follows up with Adeline Resplendent Cathar and passes turn. At the end of turn, Ben cracks the Bloodstained Mire, losing 1 to grab a Blood Crypt tapped. He then draws for his turn and also loses 1, and follows up with that Eldest Reborn. I sacrifice my Souvenir Snatcher, and Shane sacrifices the Hanwar Militia, and with nothing else, Ben passes. New Shane casts Burnished Heart and passes to me. I draw and lose 1 and cast Animar again. Shane scries 1, keeping it on top, and draws it, losing 1. He plays a Plains and recasts his commander Kyler, paying the 1 green to draw and loses another 1. He follows up with Rally the Ranks, naming humans, and moving to combat, Ben makes a deal with Shane to let him draw a card off Xira in return for Adeline not attacking him, which Shane takes. Adeline then swings at New Shane, and 3 tokens come into play attacking everyone else. Kyler triggers 3 times and gets 3+1/+1 counters, pumping Shane's humans by +3/+3. We all then take our hits, and Shane ends his turn, with Ben cracking the Colony Heart Expedition to go and find 2 lands. Ben goes to his turn and draws. The Eldest Reborn makes everyone discard a card, and Ben then moves to combat. He swings Xira Arien at me, and I take 1 in the air. He follows up with Toxic Deluge, paying 6 life. I respond by bouncing Animar back to hand with the Crystal Shard again, and the board gets wiped. Ben then follows up with a Woodland Bellower, grabbing Eternal Witness, which when it enters, returns to hand Toxic Deluge, and Ben then casts an Elixir of Immortality, passing. New Shane casts a Spiteful Visions, and with nothing else, passes. I draw 2 and take 4, and shock in an Overgrown Tomb. I then cast a Luna, and mutate a Vulcapede onto it, flipping into a Simic Ascendancy, which I cast and pass. Shane scries 1 to the bottom, and draws 2 and takes 4. He plays a Razor Verge Thicket, which comes in tapped, and casts a Heronblade Elite. He pays the 1 green to draw a card and takes 2, and follows up with a Knight of the White Orchid, grabbing a Canopy Vista. He then casts an Eternal Witness, paying 1 to draw a card as he casts it, and grabs Adeline back to his hand, and then passes to Ben. Ben draws his 2 and loses 4, and reanimates a Cub Warden with the Eldest Reborn as it goes to the graveyard. Moving to combat, he swings the Woodland Bellower and Eternal Witness at New Shane for a total of 8. Xira then makes her triumphant return, and with nothing else, Ben passes. New Shane draws 2 and takes 2, and in his main phase, plays a Mountain. He casts Urza's Guilt, with each of his opponents losing 8 from the draws, and life loss, while New Shane only loses 6. We each discard 3, and New Shane then casts a Lore Broker and passes to me. I draw 2 and take 4. I then play Drowned Catacombs and mutate Vadrock onto my Aluna stack, getting a counter on it, and the Simic Ascendancy as well from the Vulcapede, and then casting Farseek from my graveyard for free. The Farseek grabs a Sacred Foundry, and Aluna flips into a Gemrazor, which I put to hand. I then mutate Gemrazor onto the stack, getting another counter, casting Farseek again for an island, blowing up the Spiteful Visions with a Gemrazor trigger, and getting a Parcel Beast to hand thanks to Aluna. Moving to combat, I swing the Aluna stack at Ben for 9. Before damage, he cracks the Elixir to gain 5, and then takes it. Shane draws and plays a Plains. He casts Kyler again and taps the Heronblade Elite for 5 to play Adeline into a Victory's Envoy. Moving to combat, he swings the Eternal Witness at New Shane and the Knight at Ben. New Shane chumps with the Lore Broker, and Ben chumps with Xira Arien, and with nothing else, Shane passes. Ben draws, and moves to combat, swinging the team at New Shane. New Shane dies as a result, and Ben gains 3 off the Cub Warden. In his second main phase, he resets the game by casting Obliterate to destroy literally everything, except his Skyclave Relic and a few enchantments. He then plays a tapped Overgrown Tomb and passes. I draw and play a tapped Idyllic Grange before passing. Shane draws and plays a Fortified Village. Ben plays a Badlands and is able to cast a Painful Truths, losing 3 and drawing 3 and passing. I play a Watery Grave and pass. Shane plays a Plains, passing. Ben draws and recasts his Nile Spellbomb, paying to sacrifice it and exile my graveyard and draw a card. He then plays a Grove of the Burn Willows and passes. I draw and pass. Shane draws and passes. Ben draws and plays a Tainted Aether, passing to me. I draw and pass. Shane draws and passes. Ben draws and casts a Burgeoning, passing to me. I play Command Tower and pass. Shane draws and passes. Ben casts a Rift Sweeper in his main phase to shuffle Paradoxical Outcome back into my deck. Ben then sacrifices the Rift Sweeper to the Tainted Aether and passes turn. At the end of turn, I flash out Sea Dasher Octopus, sacrificing my Grange to the Aether. I draw and mutate Parcel Beast onto my Sea Dasher Octopus. Moving to combat, I swing in at Ben for 2, draw a card, and pass to Shane. Shane draws, casting a Deranged Hermit, which he sacrifices to the Aether rather than discard it, and passes. Ben plays a Sheltered Thicket, passing to me. I play a tapped World Tree, and move to combat, go at Ben again for 2. I draw a card, and then cast Season of Growth in my second main phase, and pass. Shane draws, misses a land drop, and moves to discard before passing. Ben casts a Dark Petition with Spell Mastery, getting 3 black. Finding and then using that floating black mana to cast the Soul Shatter that he'd shuffled earlier thanks to the Elixir. With nothing else, Ben passes. I cast Domri and Arcabolus, and uptick him, and pass. Shane draws, and discards, passing. Ben plays a Dark Depths, and then casts a Mending of Dominaria, milling some cards. I uptick Omri in my main phase to cast Animar. As it comes in, I sacrifice Watery Grave to the Tainted Aether trigger, and get a Scry trigger thanks to my Seasons, passing. Shane draws and discards. Ben draws, and his Mending ticks up. He grabs a Woodland Bellower from his graveyard, and then plays a Nurturing Peatland. Ben then plays an Eternal Witness, sacrificing the Peatland, and then casts a Rift Sweeper, shuffling my Cub Warden in and sacrificing the Dark Depths. He then passes to me. I draw and play a Rootbound Crag, and then uptick Domri to make mana to help cast Hadana's Climb. Moving to combat, I put the +1/+1 counter onto Animar, and the Simic Ascendancy also gains a counter on as well. Shane draws and discards. Ben draws, and the Mending reaches its final chapter, bringing all of his lands back into play. He then casts a Mindslaver, and uses it on me. Ben then moves to combat, swinging his elves at Shane. Shane responds to this by casting Swords to Plowshares on the Rift Sweeper. Once that's done, Ben follows up with the Seasons Past, grabbing Mindslaver, Dark Petition, Nile Spellbomb, Obliterate, Sylvan Library, and Soul Shatter. Ben then plays a Prismatic Vista for turn, and taps it for black thanks to Urborg to recast Nile Spellbomb. He then moves to his discard and passes. My turn is fully in Ben's control, and in my main phase, he activates the Simic Ascendancy to put a +1/+1 counter onto Animar. He then moves to combat and gets a Hadana's Climb trigger, putting the 3rd counter needed to flip it onto Animar as well. He has me swing Animar at Shane, who at this point is pretty sure we're dead to Ben anyway, and wants to scoop it up. Ben agrees since he'll probably be able to mind lock me out for the rest of the game at least, until Shane is dead, and then never let me have a turn again, so we scoop it up to him. Game review time. So if you were able to stick it out and get over the fact that lands were in front, I think this turned out to be a pretty good game. That is except for the fact that Ben plays white bordered basics and makes me sick. I do not begrudge him for playing Obliterate. It was basically a way to stall out the game, but like I said, it stalled out the game and he had to really fight to get a win. I almost took him out with that Sea Dasher Octopus, and that to me strikes me as not having a full plan, which is typically when I don't care for those kind of effects being used. Otherwise, it was pretty sweet to see a Jund deck in action with Xira Arien at the helm. New Shane seemed to get a lot of hate for playing Nekusar, and I do understand that people like to draw cards without being punished, but sometimes you gotta take what you can get. I'm finding myself enjoying Ramos more and more the more I tweak it, and the Crystal Shard and Seasons of Growth have been incredible additions to the deck. Domri is also a great card to have in it because it allows me to cast my creatures and not have them countered, plus ramp. Shane got to really showcase just how powerful Adeline and Kyler are together again, and I really like that deck. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.